What are we giving away this time?
I thought it would be perfect to give away the first comic book in the Avatar series, and that is this one here that we have on the desk. It is The Promise. Welcome to Backseat Directing,
where we talk about movies, TV shows, comics, and more.
We're your hosts,
Andrew
and Aaron.
And we post new episodes every Monday and Thursday.
And on this episode, we're going over the latest Avatar: The Last Airbender news.
3, 2, 1,
action.
All right, Aaron, today we're talking about something near and dear to our hearts that we love to talk about on the show, and that is the Avatar: The Last Airbender, or rather, now we can say Avatar Studios and the Avatar universe that we're going to be building.
Yeah, super cool that they're expanding on the universe that they've kind of already created. You know, now they have a actual studio that is dedicated to just working on these products. But before we go into all these projects coming up, I want to go over our giveaway.
Ooh.
So we've done a giveaway before where we gave away some comic books.
What are we giving away this time?
I thought it would be perfect to give away the first comic book in the Avatar series, and that is this one here that we have on the desk. It is The Promise.
And where does that pick up?
So this happens and takes place immediately after the show Avatar: The Last Airbender. So this ends right after then, and it picks up and then skips forward. I believe it's a year. Yeah, 1 year.
Awesome. How can listeners or viewers enter the giveaway?
So we're going to be giving away 3 of these, so you have a pretty good shot. What we're going to do is we're going to have you go to our YouTube page, Backseat Directing, subscribe, and leave a comment on the full episode, and we'll enter you in the giveaway and announce the winner, and you could be one of 3 people to win this book.
Yeah, everybody will have one chance for their name to be entered based on subscribing and commenting, and we will pick 3 people to each get 1 copy of The Promise. So we will work out with you the details. We'll have you reach out to us on Instagram. Once we post the video where we say who our winners are, we'll do a randomizer, and we will have you reach out to us on our Instagram so we can get an address. So make sure you get your copy.
Yeah, I'm very excited about this. So I've read all of the Avatar books. I haven't gotten into any of the Korra ones yet, but this one is my favorite out of all of them. So I'm excited for 3 people to get the opportunity to read this book. It collects 3 issues actually, so it's kind of like a little trilogy in itself, and it's the full graphic novel of this story. So I like that because it's a digestible sized book, but it's something that isn't only 25 pages.
Yeah. Something I want to say so that I can cut it out of this video is the instructions really quick without using the word YouTube, so that I can put it on TikTok, because TikTok's going to murder our viewership if we say the word YouTube. So if you want to enter this competition and you are on TikTok, you can subscribe and leave a comment on this episode on the Red website, where we also post our videos, and we will enter you into submission for receiving a copy of The Promise, which is an Avatar comic book.
Yes, I'm very excited to give this away. And with that said, let's kind of go into the upcoming projects.
So much exciting stuff. I mean, this has got to be like the universe I'm most excited for right now. I'm more excited for the Avatar universe than I am for the new DCU, which they've officially now changed to DCU, more than I am for the MCU, even more than I am for like the Spider-Verse. Like, Avatarverse is going to be so cool, especially considering the fact that the original creators are founding Avatar Studios.
Yes, exactly. I'm just like you, excited to see. I think this world has like the most potential out of all the other universes that
the
you
Invincible
mentioned.
universe is right there, though, right?
Ooh,
that's
right.
a tough decision.
All right. Next time we have to give away one of the Invincible books.
Yeah, they just did their anniversary too, so they updated some books. But we're talking about Avatar. So a few things that I wanted to preface our Avatar news with is one of our big sources for this episode is what I've seen described as the official Avatar news page. There's nothing that's specifically created from Avatar Studios, but there's a page on Instagram called Avatar News where they seem to have good sources and reliable information. If something's a rumor, they'll say it's a rumor. I've read a lot of the details they posted, so I use them a lot for this. They seem to have sources at Paramount, which, Paramount is with Nickelodeon. They produce and make the Avatar content. They pay for it, so
which has to be the only negative of Avatar Studios, right?
It's gonna be coming out on Paramount Plus.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
I don't understand why they can't.
Right now it's all on Netflix, right? But now we're gonna have to experience this new world
on Paramount Plus.
Son of
where you can't fast forward, rewind.
You can't select which episode you're on. Oh my gosh.
Me and Sierra have recently gotten back into watching Survivor on Paramount Plus, and it's such an unmanageable
Paramount
streaming service.
Fix your interface. Oh my gosh.
I have to plug in my PS4 because PS5 does not have Paramount Plus.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
pretty dumb. You kind of need to use a laptop because the console service for Paramount is so atrocious.
I have it on a Amazon TV.
Oh, it's still terrible.
I get it on there. But yeah, it's the worst out of all of the other streaming services. It's terrible. But anyways, I'm sure they'll overcome the hurdle of Paramount Plus.
They're that good.
Yes.
The other thing that I wanted to mention is that the projects that we're going to be discussing are, I believe, other than the game, are like original new concepts. So the comics are new things that are being written, new stories. The movies, like the Zuko movie and the Aang movie, are original stories. They're not based on, say, The Promise or a different comic book. They're new original stories, which is really cool. It'll be stuff that we haven't seen before. So pretty much everything we talk about here is a brand new idea. That's exciting.
Yeah, definitely. So let's kind of go over the timeline real quick of the projects coming up.
Yeah, they're going to be producing a new movie and show every year starting with 2025, which is a really aggressive plan. But Aaron, you have more details on what exactly we're looking at.
It's aggressive, but at the same time, it's so far away.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, like why isn't it here now?
Well, sooner than that, we'll get outside of Avatar Studios from Netflix, we'll get season 1 of the live action show.
And that comes out this summer, and it will kick off our Avatar content, if you will, that's coming out. We have the live action show, Book 1, Water, coming out this summer. And then summer 2025, that's when we get Book 2, Earth. Again, that's with Netflix. It's separate from Avatar Studios.
And this is mirroring the seasons of the original animated show.
Correct. And then we get the first animated movie. We have the adult team Avatar. That'll come out. It's got a specific date, October 10th, 2025. And then we get a new Earth Avatar series, which that's exciting, right?
Yeah, a whole new Avatar.
Yeah, and then we're gonna have to do more debating, more drafts, go over new ranking system.
It's gonna shatter every list we've made.
Yes,
for Avatar.
Exactly. And that comes out in the winter of 2025. Again, so far away. You'd have to imagine that has like 3 or 4 seasons, right? 15 to 20 episodes, you think?
That's what I'm picturing for it. Same as Korra, I think.
The next thing to come out, we have Zuko animated film. And this will be coming out October 9th of 2026. So we're getting further and further away here. Then we have a spin-off animated series, which I don't have any other details on that. Do you?
No, I think that's kind of all that is under wraps, I guess, for now.
That's 2026. In 2027, the summer, we get Book 3 of the live-action Netflix series, and that's Fire. Get it?
Yeah, it's going to be fire.
And then in that year, 2027, on October 8th, we get a new animated film. And sometime in 2027, we get a new animated series as well.
It might not be confirmed on that timeline because it came out sooner, but I think I've seen a more recent post saying that 2027 animated movie is going to be based on that Earth Avatar, who gets his first season of his show in 2025.
Okay.
So that new Earth Avatar, that should be his movie in 2027.
Dang. That's a lot of stuff coming out.
A lot of content. It's a big slate.
It is not easy to make an animated film or show. Like, it takes a lot of work, and it seems like the animated style is going to be very similar to how Korra was, but they're going to kind of include kind of that, I guess you could call it, Into the Spider-Verse stuff, where they use some CGI elements to kind of help them out and whatnot. But I think the animation is going to be really cool just based off of some of the stuff that I've heard about it.
I think the Korra animation, I mean, even going as far back as Avatar: The Last Airbender animation is great.
Yeah.
Like, amazing. It's so, fun to watch.
Yeah, but it's also good to hear that they're sticking pretty close to how that looked. You
want to pay homage and keep up with the times, because you can't just keep animating Disney 2D paint style, since the beginning of time.
Yeah, they're just kind of like one-upping it, Like, there's a thing called pencil miles, which is like how many shots and how much drawings the artists had to do to make the film. And I think the Korra one is like double the original Avatar series.
Jeez.
Like they put in a lot more stuff for the animation of Korra.
There's a lot of movement in Korra for sure, and there's a lot of really fantastical, like, big fight sequences and camera work. So I think they'll only continue to up their game. But do you want to actually start with talking about the movies?
Yes.
Okay. Start the movies. I think that's as good a place as any. So the first movie we have coming out is the Aang Gang movie. That is going to be released, like you said, on 10/10/2025. So we still have over 2 years until that comes out. Recent news that I just found online says that it may be named Echoes and Aftershocks. So the title, I would think, would probably be Avatar: Echoes and Aftershocks. That's based on that name was found on the resume of a Paramount Pictures employee. So basically, there was a resume that somebody submitted. It said, I worked on Echoes and Aftershocks. And that's thought to be the title, which that movie...
And that is why they are submitting their resume places, because they got fired.
For leaking information. That's so funny. That movie is going to be really cool. It's going to focus on adult members of the Aang Gang, like we've seen in some, fan art and concept art, things like that. It's going to focus on adult members, or actually like we've seen in Legends of Korra and flashbacks, but it's going to focus on their adventures after the end of the series. Now they're established. Zuko's the Fire Lord. Aang is an established, grown Avatar. So not much details yet as to like what the conflict of that movie is going to be. There's some people who think that there was a movie that was considered a Zuko solo movie. They think that might be folded in with the Aang Gang movie, that it might be a Zuko focused movie that features the entire gang, since by the end of Book Fire, Zuko is like a built-in member of the Aang Gang. So maybe it's really his story where he's the focus instead of Aang, and Aang is now like a background character, which...
That's kind of how these comics go. Like, each book is kind of focusing on one character, but all the other characters are, for the most part, in the comic as well. Like the second comic, The Search, where Zuko goes and looks for his mom and tries to find answers. Like, it's mainly about Zuko, but everyone else is in it.
That's why I thought it was strange to see the news that these weren't going to be based on previous projects, because like I would expect this Zuko story to be focused on The Search, and I would expect the Kyoshi story to be based on the book that was written about her, The Rise of Kyoshi, and they're supposedly not. So
kudos to the creators then, right? Like, they want to tell new stories.
Yeah, I'm on board for that. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we talk about all the time, coming up with like original new stories.
I think Zuko's a great choice for an original new story because, one, he's a fan favorite, and two, he kind of has the most like emotional depth in a way of any of the characters. I think, like, even though Aang is my favorite character when I watch the original show, Zuko is, I think, the best written. He definitely has the best arc of any of the characters in the history of the Avatar universe. Would you agree with all that?
Yeah, definitely.
I think that the emotional depth that we can go into with him, those waters run very deep. So I'll be excited to see where they go. I mean, there's the mystery of his mother. There's him struggling to unite all these Fire Nation colonies that people who have been trained their whole life to believe that the Fire Nation should control the world and share their greatness with the world, and he now has to teach them a different way. So there is a ton of storytelling they can do in that direction.
Yeah, I think creating new content and new stories is a way to further build the universe. You know, like you can find out bits and pieces of information from these different mediums that they're doing, you know, like through the movies, the shows, the comics. They have a game coming out as well. So there's different ways to experience the world, but each experience is new and just kind of adds a piece to the puzzle, which I kind of like.
Yeah. The information I have has the Zuko movies as a speculative release date in 10/9/26, which would be almost exactly a full year after the Endgame movie. But we'll see if they're gonna like fold them in together or not.
Yeah, right now they're all slated to be like that second week of October, a year apart.
October, I think, is a pretty good release month for movies. That's, you know, what October 2014, right, is what that person had as the greatest movie release month of all time. So
yeah,
it's usually some pretty good movies in October.
Now, are these movies, are they going to theaters or are they just going to Paramount Plus?
That I don't know. I don't think I saw that in my research. If I find out, I'll make sure to let you know while we're filming.
Do you think these movies would do good in theaters?
It depends on your definition of good. I think that they would make a profit. Mm-hmm. I don't think that they would do as well as like Mario's going to do this year.
Yeah.
Because I think while Avatar is amazing and the fans who love it hardcore, I think that it's probably less well-known property than a lot of the other animated movies that get made. I think it's probably less well-known than like the Minions or Mario or some of these other animated movies that come out.
Yeah, but I feel like there's so many adults that like it too. And when adults like content that kids can like too, then the adults want to go to the theaters with their kids to watch it, you know, and now instead of one ticket, it's the whole family coming in to watch.
I think it'd make a big profit to their budget.
I feel like if it were to be like in our box office draft or something, I feel like it'd be like a wild card pick.
I wouldn't pick it for that.
You know,
I wouldn't pick it for a top 10 of the year.
It could do really, really well, or it could just bring in like a humble amount, you know?
Yeah, I think that the people who went to see it would love it. I think it would have an experience in the theaters kind of like the first Spider-Verse movie.
I would like to see it in theaters.
I'd love to see it in theaters, but the release success would also depend on what are they going to do. Are they going to simultaneous release with Paramount Plus? Are they going to do a theatrical release and then weeks later?
I don't think we know, or at least I don't know, like how long are these movies? Are these like traditional animated film movies, you know, like a lot of the DC movies where they're like an hour long, you know, and it's like it's a movie, but it's really like half the length of an actual feature film. That'll probably dictate it as well, you know?
Yeah, I would be curious. Details are trickling out very slowly.
What would you prefer?
I prefer
an hour movie, 2 hour movie,
as much Avatar as I could get.
Yeah,
that's what I'd prefer for something like this. I'd watch it even for the.
There's such good storytellers that I think a 2 hour movie or just shy would be amazing.
Yeah. Even if there was little action in it, I would just enjoy to be back in the Avatar universe. So to me, the more the better. I'd rather them tell a story, the best story they can, and not stretch it out.
Right,
but,
of course.
Yeah, but I'd love to have a long runtime for that. So that wraps up my thoughts on the movies. I don't have any details on what I just found as the supposed Earth Avatar movie that's supposed to come out in 2027. Mm-hmm. I don't know much about him other than the obvious point that when that show and movie come out, that means that Korra is passed away and gone. Yeah. So we're facing the next phase of the Avatar cycle, which is in next turn will be Earth.
You think it'll be a guy or a girl?
It's going to be a guy.
Is it?
From what I can tell, the picture they're using, it's like a shadow, but it's evidently the shadow of a male avatar.
Okay, cool.
Which is interesting because
is it kind of going male, female, male, female?
Not quite, because Roku and Korra, that's 3 out of 4 were men.
Right.
But then Kyoshi and Yang Chen are also like recently before
Okay, Roku, so no pattern in terms of the gender.
There's nothing that you can expect, I guess. Yeah. I don't know if it's I feel like it's near equal with what we've seen. near equal, but probably a little bit more so male than female avatars. But let's talk about TV shows. The first show that I want to brush over is apparently there's recent news that Avatar Studios is developing an animated preschool show.
I saw that this week.
It's like one of those little chibi things where like they've got the big heads and small bodies, and they're all like in school with Katara.
Well, I mean, Marvel has all that stuff too, you know, and DC has all that.
It's not something we'll watch, I'm sure, but it'll be cute. And, you know, the next generation can get into
I'm sure
Avatar.
You'll watch it with your nieces.
Oh, yeah, I can make Zoe watch it.
You know, I probably won't ever see it unless I'm at your house with Zoe.
If I can gateway Zoe and Levi and Zariah into watching Avatar, that would be a dream.
Yeah, there you go.
But then there's some more like exciting show news. Like I want to talk about the live action show because that's the soonest thing we're getting, right? 2023, this year, this summer, we're getting Book One Water. One of the coolest things I saw online is somebody said that I think this comes from somebody in the casting department is the source for this. They said the live action show has a cast of 131 cast members. This is solely like acting cast members. This doesn't include background actors, and it does not include stunt actors. So this is people with a role to play or lines in the show. 131 people. That's a heavy cast.
Do you know how that compares to
I was looking
other Netflix shows?
I was looking. It's much less than the cast I could see for the final season of Game of Thrones, but that's like comparing it to like a huge show.
Yeah.
So I think the Game of Thrones cast was like 4 times more than this.
Well,
but
in the original show, we meet a lot of people.
No, 4 times more. But I couldn't find. That's, you know what it was. I couldn't find numbers that didn't include like stunt and background actors.
Gotcha.
Because that's why the Game of Thrones numbers are so high. Because they have these huge like battle set pieces. These are people like they have to have lines if they're not background or stunt actors.
Well,
you know?
I think it makes sense, right? Going based off of the original show, because it's kind of mirroring that. He's traveling across the world,
meeting a lot of people.
Meeting every episode, he's pretty much in a new location. Yeah, every 2-3 episodes or so.
If you think about when he goes to Kyoshi Island, there's like 10 of those little girls chasing him around, and they all have like little blurbs of dialogue, like "ang ang." That's 10 roles right there.
Yeah.
If Kyoshi Island's included in the plan already.
The biggest concern about this is that the creators dropped off of this project.
The Avatar news page says something that confuses me, and maybe you can help interpret it, but exactly what it says, and this is a fairly recent post. This is since after they dropped out, but this is from January 16th of this year. It says, Avatar Studios and Netflix are collaborating on the live-action ATLA series, which includes new canon contributed by Avatar Studios. So maybe they've come back as a collaborator, but they're like storyboarding or something.
Or maybe like the studio itself is just kind of making sure that it's upholding the brand, but the creators themselves are just working on their own stuff.
It's hard to tell what collaborating means, you know? Like, it's kind of a little bit open to interpretation.
But they were like big parts in it, right?
They were, yeah. I think they were originally like part creators on the show. Like, they were like doing the story and the writing, but what
was it like? The producers didn't they weren't on the same page.
Seems like they weren't on the same page in terms of the creative vision. It was kind of like quote unquote creative differences, which is what you get a lot from like these kind of separations in Hollywood. Is like there's not real details. Like,
isn't that weird though? Like they're doing a show that's mirroring a show that's already been made, and you have the creators there.
But
like, wouldn't you want to do what they want?
Making a live action show in a lot of ways is not the same as making an animated show.
Right.
And like when you're looking at it, you have to consider like, we want this to be true to the animated show, but what are the other concerns? Can we match that with budget? If we decide to do that, is it going to decrease the quality of, say, special effects for the rest of the season because our budget can't be allocated to this one thing that you want to do? We want to cut that out. Well, we're not willing to compromise. Suddenly you have creative differences. Like, how
much do you think that's going to happen? Like, how often are we going to see bending? Like, is it kind of like the Last of Us video game to show? Like, in the video game, there's runners and clickers and other zombies and stuff all the time. And then in the show, we get to see, like, 2.
I would say that they've failed. Netflix has failed if there's not bending in every single episode. There should be multiple instances of bending in every episode. It's a part of everyday life in the Avatar universe. I mean, people are using it to travel or to pick something up and move it. That's how it should be.
Man, the fight scenes are hopefully going to be really cool, right? But how, do you think they're going to animate air? Because in the show, we get to see air. In the comics, you get to see air. In real life, you can't see air unless things are moving with it. How do you think they're going to attack that?
I think they need to show some form of visual representation of it, because otherwise it's just going to look like Aang is pointing his hand out in the direction of a threat and they just move away. It will look like the Force instead of airbending. And I think they need to show some representation of that air. We'll see how they go about it.
They have to do so in a non-cartoon way, or at least in a similar way to how they display the other bending styles.
Yeah. It's a huge challenge. When he's riding on an airball, I don't want him to just be sitting in the air with his legs crossed. I want to see the airball beneath his feet.
Do you think we'll see that?
We better.
Yeah.
Again, I'll say I feel like that they've made a huge mistake if we don't see that.
I'm very interested because we've seen nothing from this.
And it's coming out soon, summer.
I feel like
Months
Netflix
away.
does a pretty bad job of kind of building hype.
Yeah.
For
there was
show.
no hype, I feel like, for You. Why was there no hype for You? Everyone was watching that show, and then season 4, just, here you go.
Yeah.
It's
or even Ginny and Georgia. That thing's been postponed forever, and then it's it's out.
They only build hype for Stranger Things.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that I feel like they spend a lot of time devoted to. It's like their baby.
Which is crazy, right?
If they have more to offer than that.
I want to see what this show is going to be like.
No, I definitely want a good solid trailer for this show. I want to see all forms of bending.
I don't like watching trailers, but I would definitely watch a trailer for this. I want to see their approach.
The trailer needs to incorporate the opening of the original animated series. That's what they should do.
Yes.
That would be cool. Show the 4 different kinds of bending.
Or even have that be the teaser.
Yeah.
We just see that.
We should have we should have that already. You're absolutely right.
Thank you so much for watching our show, Backseat Directing. We appreciate our whole audience. We're hoping to build the community even stronger. We love talking about movies, comics, shows, and everything else, video games and whatnot. We'd really appreciate if you headed over to our YouTube page, hit subscribe, and if you comment on this video, you have a chance to win a comic book from the Avatar universe. It's called The Promise. This is a collection of 3 comics to make a full graphic story where the beginning and the end is all in this book, which is something that's really important to me when I'm reading a comic. I want to have the whole story. So again, subscribe to our YouTube page and comment on this video and you'll be entered to win The Promise from Avatar Studios. We're giving away 3 of these, Andrew.
Yeah, so you have a pretty good chance of winning. I always like hearing that if I'm going to enter a competition. It makes me feel like I got good odds.
Yeah, and that's the last comic books that we gave away were just 6 issues, and this is a lot longer. This is over 100 pages. It's a whole volume here. So I'm excited that we're giving this away.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I actually haven't even read that myself, so.
I'm also excited that it lines up perfectly with the topic that we're talking about.
Yeah, it is the source material, exactly. Yes. And building off of what you said earlier, I definitely agree that I'd love to build a community from this. And so if you comment, if you're interested in forming a Discord or something like that where we can chat about movies and Avatar and different news and MCU, DC or whatever, that would be great. If anybody's interested in communicating with us,
that'd be awesome. Definitely. All right, where should we jump back in?
Let's jump back in talking about TV shows. We have to wrap up TV shows. So we talked about the live action show. We know that we're getting season 1 of Water in this year in summer. Then we're going to get Earth, then Fire, just like the animated series. Do we have any other TV show news to go over?
I don't think so, because we have...
we don't have a lot of details on the animated series.
No, we really don't.
The animated Avatar, the animated Earth Avatar we already discussed.
Do we even know his name?
Not that I'm aware of.
I don't think so either. I think there's a fan-made show or something about this Avatar, but it's like a fan made thing. It's not canon, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, we it was really hard finding information for this stuff. Even the stuff that we have, I feel like I had to really dig to find it, and most of the stuff I have I got from you as well, you know. So like it's not easy to find information for Avatar Studios projects.
It's not. I guess they're playing it pretty close to the chest, which is cool because, you know, it's I don't want everything spoiled, but it would be nice to have a little bit of detail.
I'd imagine next year, 2024, we'll start to get a lot more stuff, being a year out and whatnot from their projects. And that'll be really exciting, you know, like getting a trailer for the movie and for the show and all that stuff. See the animation style and maybe some ideas of like what the story will be about. Like, I'm definitely excited for them to release more information about this stuff.
I'm pumped, but let's talk about the comic news. I'll go over that really quick, and then we can talk about the games. So in terms of upcoming Avatar Universe comics, we're going to get a trilogy of Korra comics coming in 2023, and so later this year. Also, the summer this year, we're supposed to get Azula in the Spirit Temple, which kind of, I think, is going to address some of the issues between Azula and her mother and her past, what happened, what was hinted at in the show. Hopefully we'll get some answers. And Azula supposedly is supposed to get a chance to redeem herself somewhat in this storyline. And then we're going to get Legends of Korra, Patterns in Time, coming November 30th. That story is from the Patterns in Time anthology series, where that section's going to focus on Asami and her mother. I believe another section of that story as well is going to focus on Guru Lahima in that anthology series. That's supposed to come out November 30th of this year. And then there's going to be a Mako untitled solo graphic novel coming later this year as well. So that's the slate for 2023, all those comics.
Sounds like I have to get to work on finishing the rest of the Korra comics. I haven't even started those yet.
Yeah, I have them.
Do you?
Well, technically,
you do.
Sierra has them.
You do have them, but you haven't read any of them, have you? Why don't you love comics? Why haven't you read any of these?
I don't know. I've got too much backlog, like other things to read. And those, I didn't buy them. I guess it felt different. Sierra bought them and read them. So
yeah.
I didn't feel like mine, like they didn't feel like they were on my queue of books to read.
Right.
I'd be excited to know more about Guru Lahima. Is there any of these comics that pique your interest the most?
Honestly, any of them, all of them. You know, I want to kind of read the core ones first.
Yeah.
You know, and kind of go in order and whatnot and build my Avatar collection that I've got going. All of these were really good. I think the first and the second one were my favorites. And then I'm sure the Korra ones are good too. I like the art. The art looks really cool there, especially in The Promise, which is the one that we're giving away. They were very creative with the panel layout.
Oh, I appreciate
it so much. Like there was a few panels or pages in here that I like stopped and just looked at the art for a little bit.
That's its own art form in a comic.
Yeah,
absolutely. But I want to talk about the video game and then kind of close this episode out so it's in a reasonable timeline. So what do you think about the video game? Do you know much about Avatar Quest for Balance?
I really know nothing about it.
Let me tell you about Avatar Quest for Balance. It's going to be a game that's based on the events of Avatar The Last Airbender, the animated series, but it's going to be kind of subjective in nature because the way the game starts out is it's around a Pai Sho game being played by White Lotus members, including Master Paku, Bumi, Iroh, and there may be others, but those are the three that I'm aware of. But they're going to be telling stories of the years past, you know, the journey from Aang essentially saving the world. So because of the subjective nature of these individuals telling the story, it's going to be actually somewhat different than the actual events that we saw in the animated series, which is cool because we'll kind of get a different mix up of the story. But it's going to be an action open world RPG. So RPG means role-playing game, which means I've seen it described a lot as similar to Legends of Zelda Breath of the Wild. So if you've seen that game, that's like a massive open world where you kind of it has a very unique animation style that's kind of more cartoony, and I think that they'll probably do that in this game just to like save on time, and partly as a stylistic choice, but it'll probably
fits within the world.
Yeah, it works for an animated TV show, right? And I think that It's going to be really cool. It's supposed to come out. Actually, let me explain. It's like Breath of the Wild, but not open world. This game. So,
Gotcha.
It's going to be coming to PS4, PS5, the Xbox consoles, Switch, and PC. It's supposed to come out, I believe, this year on November 8th.
Dang, so this is like a game.
Yeah,
Like, this
it's
isn't
a
just
full
like
game.
a
It's a
mobile
console
game or something like that.
I think they also have a mobile game in the works for Avatar, but that's separate. Yeah, so Quest for Balance should be a full game, like you're saying.
It's a pretty cool concept, kind of playing through the game telephone almost.
Yeah.
Where certain parts of the story could be exaggerated or slightly different based off of who's telling the story.
I'm sure you get like awesome cutscenes of those White Lotus members like playing Pai Sho, just talking, and that'll be cool in and of itself. But to get ground level playing as like Aang or Aang Gang cast members and like play a Breath of the Wild style game will be really, really cool.
Now, you're a big video game person. Do you think this is something that you would want to play?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I assume we're both going to purchase it, right?
Like, you're excited for this?
Quest for Balance, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, cool.
I think that I'm obviously jumping the gun. I haven't seen a game trailer or anything. It could look like
I'm a little more picky with my video games because, I don't know, they don't hold my attention as long. Maybe because I suck.
I think I'm less picky with them than you are, maybe.
But yeah. I'm excited for it, but I'm kind of like, let me at least see some gameplay first, you know? But I trust Avatar Studios. I mean, all the content that they've made so far has been great. So why wouldn't the video game be? But this is like the most that I've learned about the video game up until this point, you know, like I didn't even know they were really making one until today.
So I also misspoke. I don't believe it's a mobile game. What's coming is what's called a TTRPG. It's a game called Avatar Legends Nexus. And that game, to my understanding, is going to be similar to DC Universe Online. It'd be like a massive online PC game where you like maybe design a little character and you play online and do little missions. So that's something that's in the works as well.
Okay, cool. Well, there's a lot of stuff coming up. I'm excited for all of it. I've been every once in a while, you know, when there's like nothing else to watch on TV or whatever, I'll throw on Avatar or Korra or something, and you're constantly reminded of like how good the show is when you do that.
It literally shocks me when I put it back on. I'm like, this came out as a kid's show, and like I'm rewatching it, and I'm like, man, Aang is dealing with survivor's guilt from all of his people being murdered while he was like ran away from his responsibilities because he's a 12-year-old kid. I'm like, my mind is blown watching this. It's like the voice acting's incredible. That makes you feel that emotion. It's you know,
they deal with
incredible.
Like real world problems.
War and prejudice,
and emotion,
and the big one too is that I think is really important is rewriting of history. You know, the like subjective nature of history being reported by the victor. It's very, very interesting. We could do a video essay or multiple episodes on the original show itself. Certainly,
yeah, definitely. Do you have any other news or thoughts on any of the stuff that it's coming out in the next few years?
There's something that's a quick cool detail is, have you seen this giant LED stage that they made for the filming of the live action show?
I have not.
I think that it's like the second biggest in the world. I'm trying to look at the details now, but they might be repurposing it from the set of a Star Trek movie, but the LED stage is something we talked about before on the set. It's like a giant set of screens that they can manipulate to show different images in the background. It's, you know, looks a little bit better than using green screen in some instances because the actors get natural light bouncing off them and they can react with the screen. They have a giant LED screen stage for the live action show. I think
a lot of shows and movies are taking advantage of that technology now. Even for some of my like product videos or commercials or stuff, you know, like you get a big TV and you put the product in front of the TV and you have the background that you need, and that background is reflecting the light from the background right onto the product or whatever for the shot. So it's definitely useful to have a big screen behind you displaying the environment, you know, and because a green screen doesn't light you up. If anything, it puts a green reflection onto you, which can make it a little harder to kind of comp out anyway. So
to be clear, the stage that they built is actually bigger than any other stage used on any other show or movie ever. They're using something called Pixamondo, which is the main competitor of Stagecraft, and Stagecraft, as we talked about before, is what was used with The Mandalorian. And it's really cool because as they're designed, so as the camera moves, the image on the LED screen moves with it to adjust for perspective, so it doesn't look like it's a giant screen.
Right.
So Pixamondo, gigantic. It's pretty cool that they're using it for the show.
All right. Hopefully that means the environment and the bending and all of that stuff will look superb.
Yeah. Hopefully they can flourish with those special effects because they've got this giant LED screen that they can use for multiple different locations.
All right. I think that kind of wraps up this episode of Avatar Studio News. I'm looking forward to all of these projects and very excited to see some more information come out about all of these projects as well.
Before we close out, last minute question, which one are you most looking forward to?
Probably the first Avatar movie.
Me too. Yeah, the live action show will be cool, but it's absolutely the Aang movie.
Yeah, because it's a new story. They're older, and I bet we're gonna see some really cool feats from Aang and all that stuff, and then we can kind of debate like, who's stronger, who's cooler, Aang or Korra, blah blah blah. Like, I don't know. It's just gonna be a lot of fun.
We just know that they're giving us what we want. They're giving the people what they want.
All right. Before we head out, again, subscribe to our
social media page where we post our videos.
Yeah, so we're doing this. If you're watching this on TikTok, we're giving away 3 copies of Avatar: The Promise, which is a collection of 3 comic books to make a complete graphic novel. All you have to do to enter to win is subscribe on the place that you subscribe. There's a big red logo that you can go to, and then you have to leave a comment on this full video on that website. All right, so again, go check that out.
Wink.
You can be entered to win The Promise from Avatar: The Last Airbender.
We're giving away 3 of them, so we're going to pick 3 winners.
This is our biggest giveaway that we've done yet.
Yeah, this bigger book, you know.
How exciting.
It'll be super exciting. Well, it's been a pleasure getting to discuss this with you, and thanks to everyone who watched and listened.
And that's a wrap.